It must have been.
Yeah, and loving it.
Please, please, where you okay. Well, you have to get, okay, but let me know. Because I'll do, okay, look at this. But let me, because I need to tell you about it. Okay. Yeah, but it's not, I've never done this.
I haven't had one of those since college. I don't get them that often.
I didn't find out I had a bike in high school until I was in a pathology class. But I also started to survive the vibration.
Psychosomatic.
Tim, what time?
Right now it's
7:59. Alright.
Hi, Joe. How are you? You feeling better? Good.
There was no corn on
Bob, is that my one?
I sent you guys.
Yours?
Pretty much tell me when would be a good time to come get the magazines. I don't know.
Come get the what, huh?
Your magazines.
Oh, you just have to let me know when you're
You guys, the process is that the sponsors need to be there because you guys are there. So. That's okay. We can do it on the 22nd or the 12th. There's not much on the 12th anyway. You got cream of fire, you got 3 minutes. Whatever you're doing, you got water.
Yeah, I was in Chicago today.
You was? What'd you do at Chicago?
This committee meeting?
Took my daughter up to Midway.
Okay. How was the traffic?
Heavy.
They said what university are going to fly in and fly out. I don't like flying out of here.
We did Midway. You know, we've done so Denver. We did Indianapolis.
They said that's good.
Now that's pretty cool. And it's so
It's nice. It's
in the
easy.
parking is less money. Yeah, you just want to stay there for a minute? Yeah, it was a little longer to drive, but it was
But it's nice though. Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
you know, if you're fighting, I mean, Midway's not bad.
I took my dad over there right there. I took the US tourist class.
I don't fly that much. But when I do, I said I go Southwest, and that's Midway.
Yesterday.
I heard that. I'm about to steal that.
We weren't there. We were in Chicago. So the only
That is like the
thing
one back there. It's
downtown, they actually scored more points.
It's real nice.
That's exciting.
By me, there's a direct flight that comes from Alabama.
Good evening. The Monday, January 22nd, 2018 Common Council meeting is now in session. Our invocation is by John P. Warren, Chairman of the Pokagon Band of the Potawatomi. Thank you, sir, for coming.
Thank you. Very humbling to be asked. I'm going to speak the original language of the area, Potawatomi, and then I'll translate as best as I can. Wawana Mashonsanan and Kajita, which Maka, Nina Wichate, Nina Wishkavishmo, Nina Wishkasinya, Yan Shoda Nagome, Wizok Nagoigon, Chomsnanen, Chicago, Atoyak, and that Moyak at Notman, Wido Chicago, Winoigo, Niganji Iguan, Mishko as Wen, Nova Matswen, Wido Datman, Wido Chicago, Coabmaag, Nishnave Kwa, Panujak Nan, Kakiajik Nan, Duchimon and Chicago, Atoyak. I asked all the helpers, some people call them angels, in our language we call them helpers, in all directions of the earth to come here today to help us. I also asked the one that created all things to hear our prayers, not only now, but everything down in the future to hear all those prayers. I also asked the creator of all things to watch over our women, our children, and all our elders, and that we are happy today for what we have. When we say ill, most people say amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. If you would, please turn your cell phones to silent. Ms. Fowler, roll call.
Councilmember Preston?
Here.
Councilmember Kelly?
Here.
Councilmember Broughton?
Here.
Councilmember Varner?
Present.
Vice President Davis?
I'm present.
Councilmember Vorty?
Present.
Councilmember Furlick?
Here.
Councilmember White?
Present.
President Scott?
Present.
9 present.
Thank you. Report on subcommittee minutes, please.
The Subcommittee of Minutes has inspected the minutes of the January 2nd, 2018 organizational meeting of the South Bend Common Council and the January 8th, 2018 meeting of the Council and December 11th as well, and found the meeting minutes to be correct. Therefore, we recommend the same be approved.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the subcommittee on minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Special business? None. Report from city offices. There's Scribner's error. I believe the mayor is here in lieu of Susanna Fritzberg. Thank you, sir, for coming.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Appreciate the chance to be with you, and I was unable to join at the first meeting of the year, so that's my first chance to wish the council well and say that I'm looking forward to a good 2018 with you. Just got back from the King Center. We had a vigil for the students in Washington High School who was killed. And we have to make sure that this year is better than last year. We have to. So, there's a moral voice of the community that was pretty clear about 3 things that I'd like to think we're all unified around. First, that it's got to stop. We all know that. We all say that. We repeat it. We got to keep finding ways to say it and repeat it. The second thing was that anybody who knows anything needs to share what they know with the community. And again, that's true in every case where we have a homicide or a serious crime. It's one of the reasons that I'm encouraged by the level of attention to community policing that's going on. These couple of the cop events that are going on, efforts to make sure that officers are walking the beats, that they're knocking on doors. And third, that the cycle of violence has to be broken. That it's like a disease. When somebody is affected by it, they are likely to transmit it, and we need to make sure that doesn't happen. So I was impressed by the unity of purpose of everybody who's gathered tonight, as happens every time something like this happens. Some things that the city is doing with support from the council that I just want to restate for the record. First of all, the street outreach personnel that the council has funded as part of the outreach budget request have hit the ground, or at least one of those personnel is on the ground now. Again, their function, they're working through goodwill. They're not law enforcement, they're community-based, but they have, I think, the potential to play that role of breaking the cycle of violence by prevention rather than response, or rather any kind of response that happens is with an eye toward prevention. We got to do more. We have more police officers coming online. Very encouraged by reports from the recruits who were in Indianapolis, and as we said before, all of us have a role to play in making sure that we're viewing ourselves as recruiters to bring people into the police force who are going to do a great job. But I think there's a sense that this is not just a police concern. You could argue that we're fortunate that the number of shootings that happened last year did not lead to more fatalities than it did. I think we all remember what it was like in the 1990s when you sometimes had more than 20 homicides in a year in South Bend. And we have to do everything we can to make sure that doesn't happen again. So that's what I have to say about that tonight. A little bit better news concerning the weather. Our streets department was able to take advantage of the fact that it's a little bit warmer today and begin attacking potholes. Unfortunately, we're in a pretty intense freeze-thaw cycle, which means that you have a day like today, moisture gets into the street, that expands, cracks. We can't fully patch the potholes right now, or can't fully repair them. We were able to get two crews out, two of what are called hot boxes, which have the asphalt there, and do as much patching as possible. They try to cover the quadrants, and then they go to the 311 calls. So if folks are reaching out to you, let them know that it really is useful to get that complaint-based input into 311 because they use that to map out. Again, if you have a day like today, they'll try to take advantage and just hit as many of those potholes as they can. We're also getting a lot of calls about State Road 23, whether it's the Eddy portion or the Sample portion. Obviously, State Road 23 is a state road, which is something that folks don't always think about. But we know that DOT is aware of the conditions there, and they've committed to addressing that with a proper repaving, at least on the Sample portion, in the year to come. Had a chance to visit the Fuse project, which is providing permanent supportive housing. We were upward of 20 people now who are housed there. I recognized at least a couple of folks who have been in Project Warm before, so that's definitely encouraging, and I really appreciate the partnership with the Heritage Foundation and the city that's made that possible. Again, we think there's a need for, according to the output of the working group on homelessness, as many as 50 more beds for permanent supportive housing, but this is a big leap forward, and we'll continue to watch closely and see what it's able to do, especially looking for impact on reduced pressure on the emergency warming centers and reduced demand for people to be out in encampments as the weather warms up. Just a reminder, some really happy news in terms of city personnel policy, which is that parental leave is now, as of January 1st, available. And so anybody who's expecting can take advantage of that pro-family policy. Don't know that we've had any takers yet, but as soon as we do, we'll be able to take care of that. The casino opened last week. I know that some of the council members were able to be there. And Councilman Davis was able to speak, and you can really tell just from talking to the people who are working there how much of an impact the jobs have had. A reminder that that day that we cut the ribbon, that kind of starts the clock and gives us a year to when we begin seeing the revenue that comes in. So under the negotiated agreement, it's a minimum of $2 million, split evenly between redevelopment and the general fund, or 2% of the net win, whichever is greater. We look forward to seeing what comes of that. Also, 93,000 more seats per year in airline availability going to Detroit and Charlotte on American Airlines. We've been missing American Airlines for about a decade in the South Bend market. It's been one of the big three legacy carriers we didn't have. So having them back is a big deal. It's exciting. We are, as a community, trying now to encourage people to make sure that they use those flights we have at South Bend Airport. Whatever airline it's on, we get the service that we support. And so, in particular, I want to remind people that when you do the math, traveling to another airport might look like you're getting a better airfare, but if you factor in parking and time, it may not be such an easy call. But also, we hope that the added competition will mean that fares will be more competitive all around, which is also good news. I know that there continues to be a lot of interest in the South Shore, so I wanted to let you know that we think we're less than a month away from AECOM providing the revised study that contains economic impact as well as engineering findings that we hope will point the way toward a good answer that we can come together around. But after the council passed the resolution asking us to leave no stone unturned, That study was initiated. We're getting pretty close. I can tell you that it looks like all of the options that were mentioned are at least technically feasible. Now what we're waiting on is the economic side of the equation so that we really are able to reach a good decision there. I would encourage you, if you haven't already, to have a look at the diversity and inclusion report. The annual purchasing report was just published to the city website. We are at $773,000 in city purchasing spend going to minority-owned business enterprises and $1.2 million going to women-owned business enterprises. That, though, is out of about $100 million in city spending. So the good news would be that we now know what that baseline is, but that baseline is also telling us that we've got a lot of work to do if we want our purchasing to really reflect the business community at large and the community that we're from. And last but not least, wanted to mention that I was very encouraged by the annual report of the PSAP, the 911 Center. We've been through a lot of ups and downs on that, a lot of leadership transitions. We believe under the new director who's confirmed, Ray Schultz, as the permanent director, that we're seeing not just the right kind of information, but also the right kind of cross-training that is going to allow us to get to where we can say that the staffing level is truly fully met. And then we'll be able to know by about June, when they think that everybody will have met that training standard, whether we're doing well with the level of personnel that we've committed to, or whether we have to have another conversation about increased personnel. So look for more this summer in terms of baseline there, but that was pretty encouraging for myself, Commissioner Castelmi, and Mayor Wood, who are on the board. And last but not least, got an update from the folks behind Line Bike. I know some folks are wondering, will Line Bike remain in the winter? We had 10,000 Line Bike rides during the month of December. And I'm still waiting to see some of the route data, the specific data on this, but Line Bike reported to us that there was no day yet this year, or last year, when nobody used the bikes. So I know it's a little hard to believe knowing how cold it was, but that could also be an indication, because I'm guessing you're not riding a bike for fun when it's 0 degrees, that we're meeting a need that some people really rely on, and so it's another encouraging development. We do need to have a conversation as a community about bike parking, and we'll be talking more about that in the year to come to make sure that people know, as with any new technology, there's a sort of etiquette that develops around it, and we need to make sure people are leaving the bikes in responsible places. But so far, very encouraging news on that front. I know I just covered a lot there, so I think I'll just leave it at that and collect any questions or input that members of the council have.
Okay, we'll do 2 questions each.
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Gordy.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you. Now, when the information comes out regarding Ardmore,
Yep.
what is going to be your procedure of disseminating that to the council and to the public? What will it be so the people in Ardmore community would know, be able to ask questions, go back and forth? What's the best way to do that?
So I think we'll probably want 2 steps. One is releasing information about releasing the study that will have come back and everything contained in that so that the public can view it. And the other is offering a recommendation on where we're headed. We've got, like I said, a few weeks before the final recommendation comes, so still open for input on how best to structure that so that the community has the right level of participation and is informed at the right time.
Okay. So I think with some ideas, I'll shoot them up
Okay.
to
Yeah,
do
we will.
that. And also, in terms of the announcement for American Airlines, those kind of things, is there a way that we could have that kind of notice with the council? Because I was trying to see what time or what I heard in the news so we can go out there and join, but I never could figure out the time.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, and if it makes you feel better, the airport did not want to tell me what was going on until the day of the announcement. I think there was some concern about one of the competing airlines getting word of it or something.
And then somebody else sent out a text anyway from the south.
Yeah, then we all wound up getting scooped by somebody in Charlotte anyway.
Yeah.
So we'll convey to the airport that there'd be desire for a little more heads up. But I think, again, their holding it close was motivated by some competitive concerns with the airlines.
And that just goes in as we have things that the more advanced that we have, especially with those announcements, because I like personally to go to as many as possible.
Yeah.
So, thanks.
Dr. Berger?
No, I have no questions, thank you.
Joe Bro?
Yeah, thank you for coming up. A lot of great things going on, of course. and a terrific summary. Appreciate you coming to do that tonight. Wanted to just piggyback on a couple things that you had said in terms of information and perhaps looping the council in with the the different measures underway with regards to the violence and in particular the youth violence. Maybe a little bit more information going forward in terms of the outreach specifically within the high schools and then also I was not able, and I don't know if any of my council counterparts had the opportunity to attend some of the, or to the extent, because I know that there are several opportunities, the youth work with regard to violence and peer-to-peer type things that have been studied and looked at. And I think some of those, might be informative and maybe help, bring about some, action from kind of within our own districts and bases. And then the other just thing to pick up on is with regard to the recommendations that were behind the funding for the increased street outreach. Maybe just if we could go back as an administration or as a council to look at the fullness of those and see if there's anything left yet undone or unturned or not quite looked at yet. In light of some of these changes as incidences occur, if there's anything that's coming to light that maybe going back now, since I believe that was about a year ago that report was generated. I'm just thinking, perhaps there might be something, because I know there was a really, collaborative group behind that. And then similar to that, a little bit if you could share anything on the lead task force, not task force, but sort of the lead initiatives and sort of where we are, if there's any kind of pivoting or changes that have been going on. And then I did want to lift up the folks who are going out tomorrow night for the point in time count within our community. These numbers are so important to what we do and how we do it, and further identification of it's not just a number, but what are the needs, what are the issues, and then how can we not just as a city respond, an administration, may I say, but more so, collectively again as a community because of just the breadth of some of the issues that people are dealing with, as well as their networks of families and friends who care. So, and I just really do applaud the Fuse Center is an amazing facility, and I'm very hopeful, going forward. I think we're about at the halfway point. Am I correct on that? In terms of
yes,
44,
there were
45?
a few interviews to take place on Friday. If all went to plan, then we'd be at 26 right now. I think so. Getting pretty close to full.
And I think that's ahead of some of the projections, correct?
Right.
So, I mean, I'm very excited to hear that. So I actually wanted to comment on that. But so again, thank you for coming and the leadership on the PSAP Center. I think we all know how much that is critical to supporting what I see as our primary function as city government. So I'm very, very pleased with the actions that have taken place within, in particular, the last quarter of last year. So thanks for your leadership and the, as well as councils in terms of, budgeting and staying on top of that. I think, we've worked hard on that, I think, to push that and up-tempo that into a good and strong direction. So last but not least, the Lime bike thing. That is shocking. Shocking, being an avid bicyclist. Who knew or who would ever imagine that number in December? That could be an all-time record for the city of South Bend, not just for the month of December. So, and I mean all-time, all season. So that's pretty cool. So congratulations, a lot of great things going forward, and really appreciate your time coming.
Sure thing.
Thank you for your two questions.
Oh, sorry.
Comments. There were
I'm not
comments.
feeling that.
You're fine. I think you hit it all for everybody.
She took mine.
I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
Sorry.
Regina?
Thank you. Well, we especially look forward to working with city administration on this concept of reducing violence by building peace. Look forward to having some conversations and hopefully inviting you to some of our community relations committee meetings.
Yes.
We'll be having to share on that. Thank you.
Thank you. I got nothing.
I got
So,
it.
thank you, Pete, for coming. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Remy.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Huh? And representing the city is, Mayor, the state of
I think we have a date, I don't think we've confirmed the venue.
March 13th?
No. March 13th. March 13th.
March 13th. And as usual, we'll schedule the statutory address on the financial piece during the month of February.
right, last
Yep.
Meeting in February.
Sounds right.
Yeah, we have that one down too. I think it's the
Okay.
22nd.
Okay, so yeah, as soon as we get a venue locked down, we'll put that up, but please save that date for March 13th. Look forward to it. And we'll have a lot of interesting things to share.
Okay, great, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And I think our Representative Laura O'Sullivan will be here. Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to rise to the committee of the whole.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Sit.
Yep. We're gonna stay right here. It's a mobile position.
Committee of the Whole is now in session. This is the portion of the council meeting where the full council meets as a committee. During each ordinance, members of the public will have an option to speak either in favor or against. Your comments will be limited to 5 minutes per ordinance. With that, would the city clerk please read 8917?
8917, public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending Chapter 21 of the South Bend Municipal Code, Article 3, Commercial/Mixed-Use District to revise permitted uses and development standards.
Can I entertain a motion to continue the zoning and annexation for 2/12/2018?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. City clerk, would you please read 0118?
0118, public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending Chapter 2, Administration, and Chapter 6, Building of the South Bend Municipal Code by removing zoning administration and Area Board of Zoning Appeals from the responsibilities of the Building Department and removing associated fees.
Thank you. Is there a committee report?
Yes, the Zone Annexation Committee met this afternoon, and due to half of us being there, we had to bring this with no recommendation at this time.
Thank you. Is there a presenter, please?
Ioka Pate, Building Department at 125 South Lafayette, Suite 100. These changes are some of the final touches to the transition of the zoning administration duties to and management of the Area Board of Zoning Appeals from the Building Department to the Area Plan Commission staff. The first is to remove some of the defined zoning administrative responsibilities from the Building Department, and the second part to adjust the Building Department's fee schedule so that it doesn't reflect certain duties that we don't take care of anymore. Mostly the Area Board of Zoning Appeals special exceptions, variances, and some other zoning documents that we used to provide.
Are there any questions from council at this time? Seeing none, we'll move to the public portion. Anyone from the public wishing to speak in favor? Anyone from the public wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing no one, the public portion is closed. Back to the council. What's your pleasure?
I'd like to move to send 0118 to full council favorably.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. City clerk, would you please read 0218?
0218, public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, authorizing the issuance of the general obligation bonds for the purpose of providing funds to pay certain capital projects and incidental expenses in connection therewith on and on account of issuance of bonds and all matters related thereto.
I would like to make a motion for just purpose of the public hearing, if we could hear Bill 0218 and Bill 0318 together.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. City clerk, would you please read 0318?
0318, public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, appropriating proceeds of the City of South Bend General Obligations Bonds, Series 2, 2018.
Thank you. Is there a committee report, please?
Yes, the Personnel and Finance Committee held a committee meeting and public hearing on these two bills, but due to the lack of having a quorum, we have to send these two bills to the council with no recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a presenter, please?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen of the council, my name is Steve Cox. I'm the South Bend Fire Chief with offices at 1222 South Michigan Street. Basically, both of these bills are for us in order for us to be able to float a bond to fund building fire station number 9 over on Mishawaka Avenue to replace the building that was built in 1926. We've had multiple discussions with council in regards to this throughout the budgeting process. I also have Randy Rompola and Herschel Frierson from Pro and Barnes & Froberg here as well to speak to the financial aspect of this. However, if the council would bear with me for one moment, Dr. Varner asked a couple of questions in committee that I feel like I need to clarify on the record. So Dr. Varner asked about the square footage of the actual fire station, and I erroneously stated that it was 8,000 square feet. It is projected to be 10,000 square feet. We also estimated the building to be built at approximately $330 per square foot. So that hopefully helps satisfy some of those numbers that we were discussing in committee. Additionally, the classroom building that is attached to this bond for the new for our training center is being estimated at $500,000 at $110 a square foot. As we stated, that is anticipated to be a prefabricated building in order for us to be able to draw down the cost of building that building. Additionally, some of the utilities that we would normally put into an actual building, as we talked about in the committee, we try to minimize that aspect of it because of the heavy-duty cost associated. So I just want to make sure that those are clarified on the record. And additionally, I did mention that we also had a $310,000 contingency built into the bond as well, on advice from council to ensure that any kind of issues that might pop up during construction, we'd be able to address those on the fly. So I hope that answered some of those questions, Dr. Varner, that you brought up in committee.
Brings the numbers a little closer.
Right. After I left, I started thinking about that, and I thought I better check that. So I contacted our architect, so those are confirmed, and with Herschel and Randy, they confirmed that as well. So. But we're happy to answer any other questions associated with it.
Sure. Any questions from council for Chief Cox or bond counsel? Seeing none, we'll move to the public portion. Anyone from the public wishing to speak in favor? Anyone from the public wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing no one, the public portion is closed. Back to the council for separate recommendations. Please start with 0218.
I make a motion that Bill 0218 be sent to full council with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Do we entertain a motion for 0318, please?
Move to send 0318 to full council favorable.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Entertain a motion to rise in results from the committee of the whole.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion
You can
carries.
sit in things.
True.
Rise.
You know what? I'm going to do it just because it was moved.
No, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you follow through. He didn't follow through. And y'all have to sit and follow through.
Here.
But anyway, sorry. Moving forward.
Full council is now back in session. Ms. Fowler, would you please give third reading to 0118?
0118, third reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending Chapter 2, Administration, and Chapter 6, Building of the South Bend Municipal Code by removing zoning administration and Area Board of Zoning Appeals from the responsibilities of the Building Department and removing all associated fees.
Move for the passage of Bill 0118.
Second.
Ms. Fowler?
Councilmember Preston?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Broughton?
Aye.
Councilmember Varner?
Aye.
Vice President Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Vorty?
Aye.
Councilmember Furlick?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
President Scott?
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. 0218.
0218, third reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending Chapter 2, I'm reading the wrong line. 0218, third reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds for the purpose of providing funds to pay certain capital projects and incidental expenses in connection therewith and on account of issuance of bonds and all matters related thereto.
Motion for passage.
Second.
Ms. Fowler?
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Broden.
Aye.
Councilmember Varner.
Aye.
Vice President Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Vorty.
Aye.
Councilmember Furlick.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Councilmember Preston.
Aye.
President Scott.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. 0318.
0318, third reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, appropriating the proceeds of the City of South Bend General Obligation Bonds, Series 2018.
Move passage.
Second.
Ms. Fowler?
Councilmember Broden.
Aye.
Councilmember Varner.
Aye.
Vice President Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Vorty.
Aye.
Councilmember Furlick.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Councilmember Preston.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
President Scott.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. Resolutions, would you please give reading to 1802, please?
1802, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, rescinding Resolution 4663-17 and approving a memorandum of agreement between the City of Indianapolis, Indiana, acting through the Indianapolis Fire Department, and the City of South Bend, Indiana, regarding Indiana Task Force 1.
As our committee chair and vice chair were not present, I acted as chair for the Health and Public Safety Committee meeting. We heard the issue, but without a quorum, we send this forward with no recommendation. So, Sir Presenter.
Yes, good evening. Elliot Anderson, Assistant City Attorney, office on the 12th floor of this building. So as we discussed earlier, this is sort of a procedural remedy that we're taking. Back in August, the council approved the resolution, which was Resolution 4663-17, approving a memorandum of agreement between the City of Indianapolis Department of Public Safety and the City of South Bend, acting on behalf of the Fire Department for the South Bend Fire Department's involvement in Indiana Task Force 1, which is an emergency response task force under the Department of Homeland Security. Unfortunately, after we executed the agreement on our end, we sent it back down to Indianapolis, and Indianapolis responded that they had dissolved their Department of Public Safety. At that point, I got involved and negotiated back with the attorney, one of the assistant corporation counsel for Indianapolis, a new agreement which just essentially substitutes the City of Indianapolis in all places where it said Indianapolis Department of Public Safety. So there aren't any really substantive revisions, but we wanted to send it back through to council the same way that it went through in August.
Great. Chief Cox, do you briefly want to add anything?
Yes, my name is Steve Cox, Fire Chief of the South Bend Fire Department, offices at 1222 South Michigan Street. This is a wonderful opportunity for our department to be able to take part in not only training, but deployment activities in regards to natural disasters, man-made disasters throughout the country. With that comes federal dollars for training, deployment assets, and backfill funding, which isn't typical of previous deployments funded by the state. So in essence, what we're getting here is an entire package of the pre-deployment training, equipment, and then backfill overtime coverage from the federal government anytime we do send individuals out. But more importantly for us operationally is our folks actually get to take part in major events throughout the country and be able to bring that experience back here and be able to employ those experiences here in their response activities. All the way around, it's going to be a fantastic package for us.
Great. Council, any questions?
What happened to their Department of Public Safety? Is it just a nomenclature thing, or what?
I can't speak to that.
Yeah, I don't know all about the internal restructuring, but I know that sometime, I think at the end of 2016, beginning of 2017, they may have made a decision that they were no longer going to have that department. So.
I actually believe that they have a new mayor, and that was part of the platform.
No public safety.
Some of their issues associated with that.
Right. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll open up. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll open up to the public. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of 1802, please come to the podium. Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak against 1802, please come to the podium. Seeing none, turn it back to council.
Move the adoption of resolution
Second. Second.
Great. Ms. Fowler.
Councilmember Varner.
Aye.
Vice President Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Vorty?
Aye.
Councilmember Furlick?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Councilmember Preston?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Broden?
Aye.
President Scott?
Aye.
9 ayes.
Great, thank you. First reading, please. 0618.
0618, first reading on an ordinance to vacate the following described property, street vacation, Western Avenue from Francis Street East, 241 feet to Prairie Street, the first north-south alley east of Francis Street between Western Avenue on the north to the first east-west alley of Southwestern Avenue, South Bend, Indiana.
Entertain a motion to send to Public Works and Property vacation for 212.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you all. Any unfinished business? Randy, Kelly?
It's all finished.
Any new business?
It's all finished business.
I would just like to make an
Ms.
announcement
What?
that on February the
Take off the one
22nd,
that I
at the
continued.
Charles
You
Martin
took it
Center, we've been asked to present a form on the impact of the synthetic drugs that has, touched our community. We have some very interesting statistics in regards for the impact that it's had coming from Beacon Health. So that's going to be at Charles Martin. It's going to be a panel. The chief of police will be a member. The police will be a member of the panel, representative from Beacon Health, along with other community
Date and
leaders.
time again?
It's going to be from 6 to 8, February the 22nd at Charles Martin Center.
Okay.
I'll give you more information in the flyer. I'll share with council.
Just one real quick note, at the Near Northwest Neighborhood Association Center on February 2nd, they're going to look at Riverside Drive in Hudson. That's a very bad, kind of crazy little corner. Look at making an improvement with that. They're going to have a public meeting. They sent it out to the neighbors around that area, but it is a public meeting on February 2nd, starting at 5:30. So, anything else, new business? Nope, seeing any? We'll turn to privilege of the floor. Okay.
This needs the city still.
This is privileged floor. Individuals
This
wishing to
needs the
address the
city
common
still.
council must state their name and residential address. Individuals are limited to 3 minutes only. Maximum time portion for this meeting is 30 minutes. Individuals may address only issues which the city has jurisdiction. Individuals shall not be permitted to address topics that were heard tonight on the agenda. The common council president may assign the topic raised to individuals during the privilege of floor, and appropriate council members or request city clerk to contact members of the city administration for review and comment. All topics are assigned, shall be responded to the next regularly scheduled council meeting. Mr. Furlick will give you a 3-minute time and give you a 30-second exit warning. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is DeCassa, 422 Kennedy Drive, South Bend. First thing I'd like to say is the city has funded $100,000 in conjunction with Work One for a Transitions program, which helps people upgrade their careers. That money runs out. So I know I'm starting really early, but please consider upping that in the budget. I think it's great for our city to boost out people who need extra training. So the $100,000, find out where it runs out and perhaps boost that in the budget. I think we should stay on top of Head Start funding. I understand that you guys don't fund that, but you do have community outreach. And if there is an issue with Head Start funding, I would hope that you would reach out to your constituents and work on that. In 2017, we had 100 shootings and over 16 dead. We need to work on that. I went to the neighborhood watch meeting. There's 200 block captains. We would like 1,200 block captains. So I'd like you to reach out to your constituents and see who might like to participate as a citizen to work on this issue. I think it'd be great to have a couple different kinds of programs. I don't know if anger management programs are still continuing in the schools, but I think you could have de-escalation violence workshops in the neighborhoods, teaching people how to de-escalate a situation, giving them actual tools if they're in a situation as a citizen, a way to perhaps help things. We might want to consider having a program, like a TV-type documentary that shows what happens when someone's shot, what happens in the ER. My dad's a doctor. I got to actually, unfortunately, watch those things. I think it has an impact when you actually see it. And also show the ripple it has on the families. When each person's shot, it probably affects at least 300 people. I'd like to see training on assisting a shooting victim. We've had 100 shootings in South Bend, just as we help people understand how to help someone who's having a heart attack or a stroke. I think it's time to add programs that help someone who's bleeding, how to keep them from bleeding out. The person that's right there, you can bleed out under 3 minutes.
So you have 30 seconds.
As great as the fire department and the response team is, if our citizens know how to stop bleeding in the moment, we have time for the emergency people to get there. I know that our zoning, Councilman Scott, I may be wrong on the figures, but we have like 60% rentals in the neighborhoods. Is that correct? I don't know. Something like that. I researched.
So your time is up.
Talk about that later.
All
right, thank you. Next, name and address.
Jesse Davis, P.O. Box 10205, South Bend, Indiana. The reason I came tonight, there's a lot of community people that are quite concerned. I believe pretty much every council member at one point or another, our mayor, our police chief, and tons of community members have all marched in the streets for equality, equal rights for everybody under many circumstances. It was brought to my attention by several citizens that there was a arrest made over Martin Luther King holiday. We all know on the holiday the courts are closed. The person arrested was released on the holiday, apparently per a judge, with zero bond for an OWI that involved an accident. There were approximately 20 other people incarcerated the same day. Those other 20 people did not get the same privilege to be released on their own recognizances or even technically bond out on that day. They had to sit in jail until the next day till the court was open. A lot of people thought that was unfair treatment, wasn't equal treatment. A young lady was arrested, I believe, the next day on an OWI charge. Same exact charge. She had to post a $500 bond to get out of jail. When the initial person who got out on a holiday, when the courts were closed, didn't have to post a bond at all. So we all march in the streets about equality, but in our justice system here in our community, it appears things aren't equal. Got into such a heated debate on social media, on Facebook, that someone from Facebook happened to pick out my post on the community page out of the billions of posts every day and mysteriously deleted my post. When I contacted the news media and said, hey, look, overnight there was 120 comments on this post that got deleted. People have questions, they want answers, why this person got out, these other people couldn't get out, why it was a different situation the next day. And the news media didn't want to cover it for some reason. I don't understand why. Under the Constitution, we're all supposed to be treated equally and fairly when it comes to our justice and judicial system.
You have 30 seconds.
That's good. We had a judge's wife who chimed in and flat out answered a point-blank question. Yes, people are treated differently based on the amount of money they have and the people they know in this community. That's wrong. I think you guys need to look into this and find out why people are being treated differently, because if you don't want to look into it and fix it, you got no business marching in the streets for equal rights for anybody.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone.
We're
know, I think
Yeah, the 29th.
29th of
I
February.
would. That's a 7:59. Blue.
It's on that Monday.
It's at 7:59 if we want to.
Thank you. I might double check.
You guys
There's the
want
notice out there, right? It's either-
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's either the 29th or it's that week Wednesday. What would be, what, the 31st or 1st? Either one, I think. But yeah, there's a notice out, on the front.
Anything for me to sign?
Yeah, and I didn't write it down myself. And then are we, citizen
I
members?
do have a question about this
For all
anyway,
of our committees, you just get it.
but it doesn't have your signature on there.
That's a big fight on the
So these are the people, it just has,
That's fine. That's between Indianapolis and...
Good night.
Maryland, right? Maryland?
I'm at the University of Maryland for some reason. Sarah. You're still married.
without trash, you know. Hey, Graham.
Hey.